Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful framework for personal transformation. And this comes from a super candid, super personal group discussion. Look, this isn't some textbook theory. It's a raw, real-world guide for navigating those internal battles that, let's be honest, we all face. So let's get into it.
All right, to kick things off, I want you to ask yourself this question. Seriously, what's the one thing you just consistently don't see about yourself, about your habits, or maybe the way you affect other people? Just let that sit with you for a second, because finding and actually dealing with our blind spots, well, that's the whole point of the journey we're about to go on.
And boom, right there, we hit the absolute heart of the matter. The group made it so clear that the central fight on the path to growth, it isn't something out there in the world, it's the battle inside between our true, authentic self and our ego. This quote right here really sets the stage for everything else. Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, the first step is you've got to map out the terrain, this internal battlefield. It's really about taking a brutally honest look at our own junk, our unhealthy patterns, all the promises we've broken to ourselves and others, and the conflicts inside that just keep us stuck. You can't win a war until you know exactly where it's being fought.
And this is where things get really interesting. You know, we all celebrate grit, right? Endurance, perseverance. We see them as these incredible virtues. But the big insight here is that those very strengths can actually trap us. They can make us stick it out in a toxic job, a bad relationship, or a negative mindset for way, way longer than we should. It's like our greatest strength becomes our own cage.
All right, so we've identified the battlefield. Now it's time to name the main enemy. And as we've already hinted, the number one bad guy on this journey is something the group called the righteous ego. Okay, pay attention to this one, because this is a huge concept. The righteous ego isn't just about being a jerk or arrogant. No, it's a very specific kind of blindness. It's that little voice inside that's always whispering, I'm the good guy here. I'm in the right. And when that voice is loud, it makes you completely shut down to any kind of feedback and totally unable to see your own part in any problem. It's the ultimate killer of self-awareness. And this, right here, just lays it all out so clearly. It's the two paths you can choose. Over on the left, you've got the ego mindset. It resists, it justifies everything, it points fingers, it's a dead end. But then you look to the right, to the humble mindset. It welcomes feedback, it seeks truth, it takes responsibility, and it actually learns. That's the path to real growth. And the most important part? This is a choice you get to make every single day in every single interaction. So the big question is, how do you actually fight back against that ego? Well, you need the right tools. And the most powerful weapon they talked about is integrity, but not as some lofty, vague idea. We're talking about integrity as a daily, practical thing, simply making sure your words and your actions are lined up. I absolutely love this metaphor. Think of your integrity like a bank account. Every single time you break a little promise, saying you'll call someone back and you don't, or even breaking a promise to yourself to go to the gym, you're making a small withdrawal. And if you do that enough, your account gets overdrawn. Suddenly, your actions and your values are totally out of whack, and trust, both with others and with yourself, it just evaporates.
And if you're wondering what this looks like in the real world, here you go. This is the anatomy of how things fall apart based on a story about two friends. It didn't start with some huge betrayal. Nah, it started small. Little promises not kept. Those tiny things, left unsaid, just festered. Then they blew up in this big, disrespectful argument. And by that point, so many withdrawals have been made from the trust account that the relationship just broke. It's a total cautionary tale.
So what's the fix? How do you stop this from happening? It's all about being proactive. You have to have regular, safe, honest conversations. The idea is to create these systems of accountability. Maybe it's a weekly check-in with a friend or a partner, where you can talk about the small stuff before it turns into the big, explosive stuff. It's all about not letting that tension build up in the first place. The conversation then took this really interesting turn toward what strength actually means. It challenges us to look at stuff you might have always been told as a weakness, like being sensitive, and to see how it can actually be your greatest gift if you just learn how to use it right. This is such a powerful reframe. So instead of thinking of sensitivity as, oh, you're too emotional, flip the script. Think of it as having this finely tuned radar for what's going on with other people. When you use that awareness on purpose, you can create psychological safety, you build incredible trust, you can lead with real empathy. That is true soft power. And here's another great, super practical tool. We're usually taught that resentment is bad, right? That it's petty and we should just get over it. But think about it. What if you treated it like data? What if resentment is just an alarm bell going off inside you telling you, hey, a boundary was just crossed, or hey, one of your core needs isn't being met? It's not the problem itself, it's the signal pointing you to the problem.
Okay, so now we're getting to the absolute bedrock of this whole thing. With all this internal struggle and hard work, what's the compass that guides you through the chaos? For everyone in this discussion, the answer was crystal clear. You need a spiritual compass, a non-negotiable set of priorities that keeps you pointed in the right direction.
And this is it. This is the hierarchy they laid out. And what's really important here isn't just what's on the list, but the order of the list. God, or your spiritual connection, comes first, then taking care of yourself. After that, your family, and only then, at the bottom, does your work or your mission come in. And one of the guys shared this huge aha moment where he realized he'd been living his entire life with this list completely upside down, and just flipping it changed absolutely everything for him. You know, this quote just nails it. It really gets to the core of that hierarchy. When life gets chaotic, when your plans just completely fall apart, and they will, the only anchor you have is this radical trust in something bigger than you. It's about letting go, surrendering, and having faith that things are unfolding exactly as they're meant to, even if you can't possibly see how in the moment.
Okay, so this is all great in theory, right? But how do you actually live it? This is basically the code of conduct that came out of the discussion. It's about the simple, hard things. Showing up for your people, especially when it's tough, speaking your truth, not just talking about being a better person, but actually doing the work. Making clear decisions, knowing your priorities, and maybe most importantly, learning to really, truly listen. And that brings us right back to you. We started by asking about your biggest blind spot, so let's end with a call to action. Thinking about everything we just talked about, the ego, integrity, communication, what is the one conversation that you know deep down you need to have, but you've been putting it off? Answering that question and then acting on it, that might just be the first real step on your own warrior's journey.